Epic Space Ducks. Welcome to another episode of Indie Invasion Shorts. We're thrilled to have you, whoever decides to join us. And if you're watching this at a later time, we appreciate that too. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, click, do whatever it is you have to do so that you can stay up to date on all the fun stuff we're doing. What's happening, Mr. Eric, up there in the frigid north?
Brr. Well, it's starting to warm up. We're breaking into the 30s again, so
Nice.
that's a good thing.
Oh, there's Tonio. Hello, sir. How are you doing? Welcome. That giant is looking awesome, by the way, that you're painting. That thing is looking amazing.
Big Mac. Or is
Big
it Little
Mac?
Mac?
No, it's Big Mac. It's Big Mac. He's got the right. That giant has the right haircut. That's the thing.
That comes supersized with fries.
It might. You never know. You never know. All right. So, Eric, we chatted about this a little bit before we came on, but what are you working on?
Well, I am doing pretty good on my New Year's Eve resolution. One of them, anyway. That's the Kickstarter.
Not the Kickstarter one.
That's an ongoing project, but no, working on my log of half painted models. And Sunday, let's do a good morning, Alder.
Good morning,
Sunday,
Alder.
I had a really good day of just sitting down here. I had nothing else to worry about and started knocking out some of those Marvel Crisis protocols.
Nice.
That were half done. So
did you get any finished?
Yeah, I got 2 done. I got 2 done out of 8. And then, realistically, I probably could have got some more done, but it's one of those, when you have a large number of models and you're painting them, it's like you're jumping from one to the other. Oh, I got this color. He works for this one, this one, this one.
Right.
So sometimes it takes longer. Well, I kind of started that way, but then I was like, you know what? I'm going to focus on these 2. And sure enough, I got 2 done. So
nice.
Bob
got you there.
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't know. I think it was kind of the same before Marvel Zombies dropped. Right. But on top of that, we had Thunder Road. Which is still going. If you guys wanted to check it out, I think there's
you had to remind me it was still going.
3 days left, and then
Mothership. Don't forget about Mothership. That was back.
But that one's going to be an easy one because I don't think I'm adding anything. I pretty much, and technically that was last year. So
I'm sorry. Mere technicality. Hey, what's happening, Mini Warmutt? Welcome to the show.
So that's one of the other big resolutions was that. So we'll see after. Pledge Manager comes out, and I still have to finish off the Monster Apocalypse, but I'm kind of dragging my feet on that one because they said, well, we don't know when we're going to close it. And I'm like, well, then I'll just hold on. And, I just jumped in to just get the core, just, see what is different. So
yeah, sure.
I may not add anymore because Big Mike got everything. So.
You just go over and play with Big Mike.
Yeah,
so Mini Warmutt said, hopefully the command will be ready to ship Undead or Alive in another month. I didn't realize that.
I think the last update they said it was sitting in the docks and just waiting to clear customs and get to their distribution center and just start.
Well, that means I should be getting that right about the same time I get the Yulia Chronicles from Olmec Games for the Drowned Earth, which means Hippo model. Matiu, the guy I got to design for the game, super excited about that. I want to paint him so bad. I can't paint tattoos, though, and that sucks because he needs some tattoos.
You know what?
I'm going to have to try.
You're going to have to try. You broke out that airbrush. You might have to try to use the
Not
airbrush.
Tattoos. Not tattoos.
Do some stencil work.
I'll do some fine line stuff. I did some Rumble Slam tattoos, some Maori style Polynesian tattoos. It came out really good. So I might try that. I'm going to have I think I got 3 of them just so I had some spares and I could give some away. So I've been working on, yep. That's where one's going. I've been working on this right here. Oil paints. I've been working on oil weathering today. And then earlier in the week, I was working on, my airbrush. I hooked my airbrush up. I got it sitting right here.
You're making me want to break mine out.
And I figured So I have the best in-laws in the world because they got me my airbrush a few years ago. I used it to base coat my Night Lord's army when I was still playing 40K, and that was it. I didn't use it for anything else because I didn't want to spend I really just didn't want to spend the time learning how to do it when I was already happy with what I was painting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I wanted to start using it for my terrain. And okay, Tonio, I'm gonna hold you to that.
Yeah, we've seen some of the stuff that he's painting up there.
Yeah, we've seen that. I will make sure that you get one once I have it in my hands. Yeah, so that's what I've been working on. So I have my board here that I'm reworking. So you can see I've had to reprime a few spots that got busted up. But I'm going to use this one, and I'm just going to do all kinds of experimenting with the airbrush and the oil weathering and all that stuff. I'm just gonna go nuts and see what I can do with it and see what I can learn. So
yeah, sometimes that's the fun part about painting.
Yeah,
is just playing, having fun and experimenting and trying things out. And in a way, I always look at it as that's a way you kind of learn technique. And even, a lot of people say, well, I am not artistic. I don't have that artistic bone. Well, there's a lot of people that aren't technically artistic. I mean, it is a gift, but you can
learn a lot of it. Yeah.
Learn a lot of those techniques to, do something that you like. And that's really what it is. What do you like?
So I think the airbrush problem was I already knew how to paint. And I mean, I wasn't Tonio level. Okay. I never will be. But I was, I was happy with my models. Look, I could paint eyeballs and they don't look like they're Whiz Kids old hero clicks looking in opposite directions. So I'm pretty happy with that. And then it was almost like I was starting over. And so I likened that to, and I know exactly why I didn't use it, because I've been playing bass for 30 years. And every time I sit down to try to learn music or music theory, and I'm starting at the beginning again, I just get frustrated because I'm like, it's cool that I'm learning all this stuff, but I know how to do it. I don't know what I'm doing, but I know how to do it, if that makes sense, because I just play by ear. But so I think that's what happened with the airbrush. But I finally decided, forget it. I'm just going to do it, use it on the terrain. And I'm actually really happy with what came out with the sewer board, because all I did was a little bit of glow to some nasty Indian sewer stuff. So yeah, so I was pretty happy with it.
Good. Maybe that kind of segues into our topic tonight.
Big words tonight.
Yeah, tonight we're going to talk about quality painting or quantity.
Quality or quantity? What is it?
Yeah, what are you looking for by doing one of these two painting model, ways to paint? And I think, like I already kind of mentioned, this is, well, what do you want? I think it's a very personal thing. So I figure we'll look at both of them, kind of go over why would you do this one,
Right.
Because we see painters out there that just blow our minds, and it's just like, whoa, yeah, I can't do that.
I think I told you about this, and for those of you guys that don't know, I was talking with Peter and Sebastian, who are the guys that own Demented Games for Twisted. There you go. He was ready. Just so you guys know, he was practicing before we came on. Okay. So, and Sebastian's the main sculptor too. But I was just shooting the breeze with him over Facebook Messenger one day, and Peter just happens to casually mention that they're also both Golden Demon winners. I'm like, wait a minute. You designed a cool game. Stuff. Sebastian sculpts everything, and you won a Golden Demon. I'm just setting fire to my brushes again.
Now, way back in the day, I remember I entered some stuff in a Golden Demon at Games Day. I can't even remember what year. I have to look up, my little entry stuff. But because when I first got back into the hobby with GW stuff and painting, that's what got me back into it. And I would enter the little local ones at the local store, and I was doing pretty good. And I was like, I'm going to enter this stuff in the Golden Demon, Yeah. See some of that stuff, it's like, holy cow.
Did they pick yours up and go, did someone leave their
worth it.
model from a game over here? Did you leave this over here? Somebody come get their model. So now I did win a best painted at Adepticon, but now I'll finish the story because it was Brian. So Brian, if you watch this, I know what happened. So I got the coin, and it's a cool coin, and I'm really glad that I have it. It's neat.
Yeah.
My son got best sportsman and the big giant medal, but I got best painted. I was like, dude, I'm the only one that had a fully painted posse. That's why I got, because the number one requirement was that your posse was painted.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how you win. Quantity. That's how you make sure you win.
Let's look at quality first.
Okay.
I think that's what a lot of people get hung up on, is that quality. Yeah. And they get down on themselves about, it's one of those, they compare it to these golden demons, or these, these champion painters that have been doing it for years and years and years, or a lot of them have kind of, we mentioned that natural talent, that artistic talent to see how a color should look on a 3D model. That's a very different medium to paint, is a 3D model. But quality painting is basically, it's something that you would spend hours working on, just one or a few, just to make it the best you can.
Right.
Using all the techniques and skills that you can to make that model like super realistic, right? Where it has all the highlights and shades and stuff like that. But for what exactly is your goal for painting to that level? And
so like for me, and I would really actually like, Tonio, if you have anything to say, please pipe in, because you really are an amazing painter. We're not just blowing smoke, we're just recognizing that you're a super good painter. But for me, what I'll do when it comes to the quality stuff is, because I just like models in general. When I find a cool one, anybody that's in the Twisted group knows that I just throw all kinds of models up there. If I find one that fits the bill and I think it'll fit into the weird steampunk twist, then I'll throw it in there. But when I find one that I really, really, really like, that's the one that I'm looking for quality on.
Yeah, you want to showcase that one.
Yeah, and I don't think that I don't think they have to be mutually exclusive. I don't think that you have to sacrifice one for the other. I know there's some people out there. One of the guys that does commission painting for Discover Games, he does some stuff for me too. Usually, right as I'm getting ready to go into a convention and maybe I need some more models painted, or they're just the line troop kind of guys that I like them, but I'm okay with somebody else painting them. Is he paints super fast and really good.
Yeah.
I mean, he paints really, really fast and really good. And then some people will take a really long time and be really, really good. And then some people will take a long time, which is my quality one, and be okay. So I don't think that they're mutually exclusive. And Tonio's saying that the painting is his main hobby. I'll throw that comment up there.
Yeah, and that was one of the things I thought of as, what are you doing it for? Is, it's just part of the hobby you love, is the painting. I've always found painting to be very relaxing and therapeutic. It's kind of, you're making art. You're just making something that's pleasing to you. You don't really you're not concerned about competitions or what, comparing it to other people. You're just doing it for yourself.
Absolutely.
So it's the joy of it.
And I think with the quality too, though, there's and I'm not 100% sure what I think about this or not. But so for instance, when you go to a convention to run demo games, I don't think that you should have the old school 40K paint job like we used to when we were painting our Space Marines with the white testers, enamel brush and enamel paints. And everybody that's in here has seen the picture circulating on the internet of that horrifically painted Space Marine when everybody's looked like that. I'm not talking about that level, but when you're at a con, do you need the golden demon quality because you're trying, it's a sales pitch. There's no other two ways to slice it. It's a sales pitch. Or is good quality good enough? You know what I mean? Because quality is very subjective. So somebody might look at the stuff that I'll give you a perfect, for instance. There's some guys that play down here and they'll look at my stuff and they'll go, man, that's really good. I'm like, eh. And then I look at your stuff and I'm like, man, that's really good. And then we both look at Tonio's stuff and we're like, man, that's really good. So the quality it's subjective. So
yeah.
But again, I think everything we always talk about on this show really boils down to what are you having fun doing? So we'll just get that out of the way and say that's the premise of like everything.
Yeah. And I mean, it may be fun for you to paint at that level because maybe you do want to enter it in a competition. Maybe that's your thing. To, I guess, kind of get in there with your peers, people that, are in your same level of painting, and, you can kind of bounce ideas off of each other and, I like what you did there. I like what you did there. You can ask people how they achieved a certain effect.
Right.
So, I mean, that could be one of the reasons you're doing. And I think overall, a lot of it, and regardless of what level you paint, it's a pride thing, right? With how they look, it's one of those, it's not easy to do. It does take a little bit of time and concentration, to put into it, but to be proud of what you produced.
I think that's the thing is, if you're happy, it's what I tell my kids all the time when they sit down to paint with me. I have boxes of Hero Clicks that have been painted so many times that I don't think you could even strip the paint off of them because they have so many layers of paint on them from my kids painting them. And they always like to sit right next to me when we're painting. And, you can't help but do it, especially when you're a kid, as you're constantly comparing. So like, well, mine doesn't look as good as yours, Dad.
Yeah, and that's and kids are quick to do that.
Right. But the thing I always tell them, and I think this applies to us across the board too, the thing I always tell them is the only person that has to like your model is you, because it's your model. Nobody else has to like it. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It's your model. As long as you look at it and go, I'm happy with that going on the board. Because there's another level of quality that will segue us into quantity, and that's using quantity to achieve an overall quality, because that's kind of where I am with my painting and stuff. Is I want the full board painted up, all the scatter terrain, every model painted. It's the reason I use clear bases, is so that you're fully immersed in everything being painted. So it's like the overall quality of it. And real quick, Tonio was saying here, having good display models at a con on the side with okay models to play with. Well, that must be why I'm not selling everything at the cons, because I don't have any display models on the side to show the quality, because I'm painting them. So it is what it is. So and that takes us to quantity. Yep. And I'm gonna jump back in our comments here real quick. To Mini Warm Up made a comment in regards to this. And that's number one, a lot of people don't have time to make it look like a piece of art. So
that's a hard thing for me.
Yeah. And tabletop quality and get gaming. That's what I was talking about that overall, you want to play the game.
Yeah.
And he had to follow up his comment with this: use watercolors if needed, as long as they're not gray, right? The Gray Legion, that never be assaulted by the Gray Legion.
So when it comes to quantity, one of the things I used to always tell people jokingly is, 3 colors, dip, done. Then you can get to the gaming. Because like you said, that may not be your thing, the painting hot, in the hobby. Right. You may want to just game. So you want to get them to the table so you can have fun, roll and die.
Right. And it goes back to, again, like you said, the hobby part of it, particularly for guys that are getting into big scale war games.
Oh yeah.
I think for what I know, a lot of the guys that listen to us play being skirmish games, I think it's realistic to say, I have my whole army painted, because it's 7 to 15 guys, depending on what game you play. But if you're not a painter, like you don't want to paint at all, you come into the hobby and you're like, I love this game. It's amazing. I love the fluff. There's nothing about it I don't like except the part where it comes to painting.
Yep.
You might have that if you're playing the big army games, you might have somebody showing up with the gray army just because they don't like painting.
Yeah.
And that can be tough because getting something commission painted, it's not cheap. It's art. You're paying for what you get. You know what I mean? So yeah. I think it's okay for commission painting to cost, because when I say cost, I mean be a little on the expensive side because you're paying for art.
There are alternatives to that, and thankfully, your favorite place, eBay, you can always find somebody's old army that maybe either half painted, so you get a start, or sometimes all the way painted.
Yeah,
and then you can just play the game.
Yep, I've even picked some the old first edition Malifaux models up to use in Twisted.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
I almost missed that one.
You already missed one. I'm surprised Alder didn't get on you.
Oh, man.
But I did the same thing because there were some really cool models that I wanted to add, but I was like, oh, man, I already got like 5 drawers full of models, have a little label on the front that says Twisted, and there's not a single Demented Games model in there because I've painted all of them.
Yeah, yeah. Do we got any good comments here? Let's see.
Yeah, Spaz. He needed to refresh his page. He's been waiting for us to start. So back to the quantity thing. Like I said, for me, it's the overall effect of the table. And like Mini Warmutt was saying, is for him, it's about getting the game to the table. And the quantity, I hate batch painting. It's probably one of the things that pushed me away from 40K.
Blue, yellow.
It wasn't even that. It was, and I think I told the story before, is that one day I foolishly watched a video on how to easily paint lightning on your models. And I went, wow, that really was easy. Let me try that. And I painted it on one shoulder pad of my painted 8,000 point Night Lord's army and went, wow, that looks really good. And I looked over and went, now I have to do them all. So, so that was tough. And I think that's kind of what pushed me away from the quantity thing, was just the batch painting, because I like paint. I do like painting, but I don't like batch painting. I don't feel like I'm relaxing. I feel like it's very task oriented.
Yeah, it's kind of like you almost feel like you have pressure on yourself to get these done, and that's one of the things I don't like. Is I don't like having that feeling like I gotta get these done. I can't play with these unless they're done.
Right.
And I know some people don't care. That's why we see lots of gray on the table.
Well, and Alder's the flip side of that. He won't play unless it's painted, and that's cool, you know.
Yeah,
he says there'll never be Golden Demon standard, but he's happy. Hey, that Carter you posted was pretty awesome. Like, I'll trade you my Carter for your Carter.
Well, I think one of the things too with quantity is, maybe you don't have a lot of time, and we mentioned this before, to spend on those high-end paint jobs. And and I've had this problem where you just got a ton of them to get through. And maybe you are like Alder, where you got to have paint on them. You don't like playing them without paint. So then you do these kind of quicker, just very basic paint jobs. You wash it and then it's done.
Yeah.
So you can, it's, I don't want to say a simpler paint technique, but it's a quicker one where you're not spending, time doing the layers and the glazing and the, and, the washes and then highlighting and all that stuff. You're just, okay.
And just learning how to do or that stuff, is very time consuming. Antonio makes another good point too. Those cohesive bases on large forces really tie them together and help. Like, if you're not the best painter in the world, doing bases and to tie them together doesn't have to be complicated. Couple of little tufts of grass that's just consistent across all of them, or a couple pieces of cork for rock builds that, so it can really add to it. That's a very true for when you're going for that quantity, and maybe you're not the best painter, or maybe you just don't have the time and you are the best painter, but you're just trying to get them out. Now, it does work with transparent bases, though, Tonio. You'd be surprised, because then once you put them on the board, they're part of the terrain, so they have a cohesive base, because you can see the terrain right through the base. It's perfect. Yeah? Did that not work? No. Okay,
well,
I tried.
Yes, that does work if you go on that level of terrain building, but that was a little bit of what we.
That's true. He said that's cheating. No, that way I can have my Dickensians can be on a sewer base, they can be on a desert base, they can be every single board that I make. That's the base that they have by default. The funniest thing about that, though, is I love making bases. I love it. If I paint anybody else's models, if somebody asks me to paint something for them, I'll go crazy on the base. But if it's mine, it needs to be on a clear base. It's just how it works. It's just the rules, man. It's just the rules. And now I'm so far into it, it's like there's no coming back. It's like,
yeah, you can't turn back now.
No, there's no turning back. It would cost me a fortune just to buy all the 30 mil and 25 mil bases that I would need to put them back onto regular bases.
Man, oh man. So let's see. Do we have any last points for quality? We kind of touched on this a little bit. Let's see. We talked about sometimes you just don't have the skills or the techniques down to paint at that level, and that can be frustrating, but that's okay if you don't. I mean, like we mentioned, you're doing a lot of them. You kind of want something that's maybe a little more simplified anyway, so you can get them to the table and play.
Yeah. I think too, one of the things as being, I prefer to say a more seasoned war gamer than to say the 3-letter word that really applies to most of us.
I like that.
Is that, when I first started painting models, there were just a handful of paints, and they were all Citadel or testers.
Yeah.
And you didn't have access to these things like the contrast paints and washes. You had some inks, but they were artist inks.
Yeah, they were some pretty
and not really cheap either.
No.
So it was really hard to do that. And now you have so many resources that whether you're a super good, you may be the best painter in the world, but somebody else might not be. And the contrast paints and the washes and like the army painter dip, those are really helpful to people that maybe aren't as skilled or maybe aren't interested in becoming as skilled, simply because it's going to get them more involved in the game because it's making it easier. So I remember when the contrast paints came out. Now, full disclosure here, they did make them sound like they were a miracle, like you were gonna dip your model into it and go, look at this golden demon that I just dipped into my contrast paint, right? They did make it sound that way, but there's such a great tool for the toolbox for people that are just beginning painting or just trying to get their stuff on the table with some paint on it, and they're just not interested in doing that stuff. So I'm glad that stuff is out there. But I think at the same time, always looking to learn little tricks of the trade. And there's just so much stuff out there on YouTube right now for tips on painting and all kinds, every kind of thing you could possibly imagine. So we're just inundated with good stuff in regards to it. On that note, I really want to try the new army painter.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Yeah, I want to try those. I suspected that they're very similar to the contrast paints, like identical, except for some color selection. Well, yeah, and cost, but color selection is really what I'm looking at. Oh man, Alder gave me a thumbs down. Oh, because of the clear bases.
He's busted your chops.
Oh man.
Oh, I like.
Yeah, well, my Carter doesn't take the desert with him to the sewer. Just saying.
So, Spaz here kind of sums it up a little bit. He found a happy medium between his skill potential and how quick he paints. So his models look good on the table, but do not hold up close to scrutiny.
Yeah.
And we've said that before. Yeah. And it kind of comes down to what are you painting for? Are you painting for yourself, for your own enjoyment? You like that part of the hobby, or are you painting for, like competition? You want to actually, and you know what? That may be fun for you, just painting to that level too.
Well, I know. So the Veiled Lamp is Sebastian Archer's sculpting company, brand, whatever you would call it. And he sculpts busts for painters. And there was just a painting competition in Australia. And I love to look at those super high level painters that do those paint jobs, man. And you read some of the comments from the other painters and they're talking about stuff that I'm like, you do that? That kind of stuff is real in painting? You can do that? And it's really cool. I love to look at that stuff. It's absolutely amazing. And I appreciate the skill level that those guys and girls have that are doing that. It's just amazing. I love to look at them. I would like to have them,
right? Even if you're just doing like your basic paints, it kind of inspires you still to get paint on them.
Yeah. Alder said he uses a lot of contrast paints. I do too. I like them. Oh, you thin them out. I haven't tried that yet.
The couple times I've used them, I thin them out too. They're too contrasty for me.
Maybe
so I'm basically turning them into a glaze is what I'm doing.
Maybe it's what I've been using them for. I really like, not to get too far off, but I really like the Akellen green, and it looks really, really, really good over the top of any kind of metallic. And that was totally by accident that I discovered that. And Tonio said they make great glazes, so if he said they do, then they do.
He agreed with me
because I've seen the stuff he's painting, and if he says it makes a good glaze, then it makes a good glaze. So now I'm gonna have to. I have some glaze medium upstairs too. Help me, painter guys. Is that what I use? Do I use glaze medium to make the contrast into a glaze? Help! I'm lost right now. Listen, I'm already trying to do 2 new things. I'm about to add a 3rd one to it, and I'm gonna confuse myself.
So what are you gonna do when the 3D printer shows up and you got 4 things going on?
What 3D printer? Did you order me a resin 3D printer? I don't know.
I'm just saying, when it shows up,
you missed my birthday.
You're gonna be bouncing around.
No 3D printer for me right now. Not right now. Maybe. I don't know. Who knows? All right. So anyway, that's quantity versus quality. Oh wait, we got one quick comment here. Let's hit this one from Mike. He says, "Little jealous that the newer paints in the YouTube weren't available to me when I was learning to paint." Yeah, no doubt. Nice thing is that the probability has risen to see a nice painted army across the table. That's very true. And that's one of the things we were talking about is it makes it so much easier for people to do that, so that you don't have the gray army showing up all the time. I think the resources are just fantastic that they're out there, and so readily available to everyone. So, but quantity versus quality, it kind of depends on what you're playing too. Because if you're playing a skirmish game, you're gonna have to buy everything, every faction to get quantity. Period. So, like I said, just kind of depends on what you're looking for and what you're trying to achieve. Like I said, I think I've hit a balance of it where I have a handful of models that I'll pick out, and I'm like, I'm going to spend some time on these guys. I'm going to edge highlight, and I'm going to just do everything I know how to do as well as I can do it, and make them look as good as I can. And then this pack of guys over here, they're gonna see a whole lot of contrast paint and dry brushing. You know what I'm saying? So
the
that
scrubs.
that's right. So they can get on the table, because I don't need them to be painted nicer than the guy that's going to crush them in the game. You know, that's just humiliating for the guy. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, that's it. I think that's it. Fastest. We don't have our standard. Todd's not here to give us the fastest 30 minutes.
Yeah, he had a game night tonight, so I said, good thing it'll be up on YouTube and Facebook later.
Can't fault him for having a game night. You got to go. Got to go to a game night. So there you go. Bam! Fastest 30 minutes in gaming. All right, Eric, take us out, my friend.
All right, you guys. Thanks for tuning in, invaders. And if you're new to the show or just want some more content, you can find more of our audio on all the podcast platforms for your listening pleasure. Or if you want some video, you can check us out over on the YouTube channel, where we have unboxings and kind of, just first peeks at different stuff. And please, you guys, visit us on all the social platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. If you want to join Discord, we got a growing community that are constantly having their own conversations. I mean, I feel like I don't even have to. I get in there and I'm just like, I can just read what everybody's saying.
And you could go over there and see Tonio's giant that he's working on. It's awesome.
Yeah, post pictures of what you guys are working on. Have questions in there. That's great. But if you also have other questions or maybe suggestions for us, you feel free to send us an email at indiainvasion@gmail.com. And if you like what we're doing and want to support us, we have a Patreon. You can show support by throwing some bucks at us to keep the lights on. And if you also want to support us with some merch, we have the Redbubble store, where you can get hats, coffee mugs, dresses. Yeah, I almost said mini skirts. Throw pillows, comforters for your bed. Make your wife's really happy having everything decked out.
Just do your whole room in Indie Invasion.
But you can check us out there, and that is at Redbubble/people/Indie Invasion. I had to think about it for a minute. I had to think of how many slashes there were in there.
Slash.
But that's all we got for you guys tonight. You know what? I'm forgetting the website. If you guys want to visit our website, coastaltext.com, we have the podcast and all links to all these places on there, so you guys can have some quick links to check them out and, pop in there and see what we got going on. We got information for something that's coming up pretty soon that we may talk about next week.
If you're in the South, if you're in the Southeast, February 25th, CoastalCon 2022. This will be our third one.
Yep. But that is it. That is officially it now. Thanks, you guys, for tuning in for another Thursday night shorts. Fastest 30 minutes in gaming. And you know what, guys? Until next week, prepare yourself for the invasion.